Welcome to Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston, PhD. Dr. Glenn is a clinical psychologist and former multi-million-dollar consultant to the big food industry and uses his experience to help you defeat your cravings. This show will help you to focus on dramatically reducing cravings and leaving the diet mentality behind, so you can more easily and effortlessly achieve your health, fitness, and body composition goals. Please remember, no doctor-patient relationship is created via this show, and you are responsible for confirming any changes to your diet, health, or psychological routines with an appropriately licensed professional before implementing them. Before we get started, if you haven't downloaded the free smartphone app to access dozens of these recordings all in one place, as well as to avail yourself of a confidential community for support, motivation, and assistance, please visit the podcast link on defeatyourcravings.com as soon as possible. And now, here's your host, Dr. Glenn Livingston.
Hey, it's the very good Dr. Glenn Livingston with defeatyourcravings.com. I am here with a kind-hearted woman named Lori, who has agreed to let me share this time with you so you can benefit from her experience and strength and hope and wisdom, as well as her tribulations and stumbles and falls. Right, Lori?
Yes, sir.
I always think it's funny when people call me sir. Lori has experience with Defeat Your Cravings for a reasonable amount of time. She's been in our program. She's read the books. Lori, can you just give me a brief overview of your struggles with food before you encountered us and then what's happened?
Okay. I have struggled with food my entire life. I can remember as a little girl thinking to myself, I don't have to ask my mommy for a snack. I can just go into the pantry and kind of climbing up into the pantry. So food has been a struggle for my entire memory anyways. I was an athlete in high school, so my weight was maintained until probably my 20s. I haven't done a whole bunch of different diets. I have always been of the mentality that this has to be a healthy lifestyle versus a fad diet. But I've probably done a million different things in pursuit of a healthy lifestyle. I lost approximately 50 pounds in my late 20s, actually my early 20s, and kept it off for a couple years until life got stressful and gained it all back plus more. And then again, my late 20s, early 30s, I lost about 75 pounds, and I kept that off for years using a particular food plan. For a long time, I felt like I was just white knuckling it. And it's weird to think back and feel like I was white knuckling it for years, literally. And I would let things sneak in, and the weight crept on, but very, very slowly, thankfully. And then when I turned 40, a lot of things in life changed, and I just said, screw it. And I don't really know exactly what happened or what caused it, but I did. And just said, screw it, and let the pig have a good year to 2 years, really about a year of just pretending like I didn't care. I put on somewhere between 75 and 100 pounds. Along the line, decided that I wanted to figure out what was actually healthy for me. The food plan I had followed it because someone told me it was good, and I think it was fine. And it didn't bother me that I didn't have my own opinions about it, but I did a deep dive into what do I think is actually healthy for me. And I'm almost positive that's when I first heard you was on a podcast interview. You were being interviewed by somebody else.
I do a lot of that.
Yes. And so I'm pretty sure that's how I first came across you. And I know that you talk about getting a lot of flack for being quote unquote rigid about rules and following them 100% and not allowing quote unquote cheat. But that resonates with me so much. I got the book and I dabbled with the program for a little bit. I went for about 2 years of just, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and do it right tomorrow. Tomorrow's a new day. I'm going to have one last binge so that I can do it tomorrow. I went for at least 2 years of that. And then I decided that 2023 was going to be a year of good health. And I prayed about it. And I literally prayed every single day and did the steps and did the work and did my workbook that you had put out and had a lot of success.
What was it in the workbook that worked for you?
Honestly, the workbook was helpful, and I was grateful for it because it gave me a step-by-step guide. You were coaching through your words, and I'm so grateful. But it was really listening to the podcasts almost daily that carried me through, honestly.
Got you. You probably came to the old program first, right? And then you came to Defeat Your Cravings, or did you go right to Defeat Your Cravings?
I went right to Defeat Your Cravings. I was a little baffled. I was so confused why there weren't new podcasts coming out. I had listened to every single one, and
Of the old podcast, yeah.
yes, I listened to every single one, and I was re-listening to as many as I could, and I honestly felt like I was floundering a little bit because I didn't have the regular ones, and it took me a while to kind of click and realize that something's going on, and I came and I found Defeat Your Cravings, and I had gotten through a vacation successfully, but I had some friends come in town for a girls' weekend. And for whatever reason, I know that it wasn't just that. I think that the pig had been squealing loudly for a little bit. And I was not doing refutations prior to the program. And I had a fall and it scared me. And I desperately want this to be forever. And I believe that it will be forever. And I wanted to have some tools to make sure that it's forever. So that's why I signed up for the program.
I know you're doing well in the program. And just for the edification of the audience, if they don't know what a refutation is, it's when your lower self says that you should break a rule. Like maybe you made a rule that I'm never going to have chocolate on a weekday, only on the weekend. When you hear a voice in your head that suggests, oh, go ahead, even though it's Wednesday, you worked out hard enough, you can have a little chocolate. We call that a squeal, because the lower self, we call it a pig. You can call it anything you want to. A refutation is how you argue against the pig. So it won't be just as easy to start tomorrow because you're going to reinforce the craving and the thought. So you'll be more likely to have a stronger craving tomorrow, and you'll be more likely to say start tomorrow. That's a refutation. That's one of the tools that we taught Lori in the program. What wiser is it about the program that feels more permanent to you because you've been up and down a few times and you've done a whole bunch of things? If you're getting confidence that you can sustain this, where's that coming from?
I think that honestly, that's a squeal I have to refute frequently because I had 10 years of staying on a particular plan. And again, I say I modified it and I say I stayed on it, but looking back, I can see where the pig that I didn't know existed really got me in the long term. But anyway, because I had relative success for that long of a time and then had a hard crash, the squeal that I have to refute the most is that I'm not going to get you now, but I will get you later. And the gaps that have been filled through the program are the recovery plan and conditional rules, particularly
Well, tell people what those are, because not everybody listening will know what those are.
conditional rules.
Conditional rules on the recovery plan.
Okay. I don't know that I'll do great on the recovery plan because I still am learning, but recognizing that getting on track quickly is essential and getting your body flooded with nutrition quickly is essential, and making sure that you start writing your refutations again and recognize that, goodness gracious, one mistake does not mean the rest of my life is gone forever.
Got you. Good. I mean, it's a difficult thing to refute when the pig says, well, you've been on plan for as long as 10 years, and then you quote unquote fell off and went back and gained 100 pounds. So it says, how can you possibly know that you could do this for the rest of your life? Tell me how you refute that. I can help you if you can't, but
Well, I've heard you say 1,000 times that just because it has happened before doesn't mean it has to happen again, and that my mind's going blank a little bit, but
I'll tell you what I think the best refutation for it is, and you can correct me if you'd like to.
sure.
You can only ever eat now.
There you go. That's what I was trying to think of.
It's always now. The ability to come back to the present moment is a muscle. We call it your eat healthy now muscle, your binge free now muscle. The more that you eat healthy now, the stronger that muscle gets, which means that in the future, your eat healthy now muscle will be stronger, not weaker. So the essence of the pig's argument is you're going to be weak in the future like you were before. You didn't really have this tool before. You didn't really understand how to build your eat healthy now muscle and bring it right back to the present and refute everything else that the pig was saying. You, in many ways, may have been white knuckling it. I don't really know. You can tell me more about your experience. Maybe that's not true. I hear stories from people who stayed on a plan for a couple of years, but they felt almost like there were these Nazi food policemen in their head. And sometimes they were part of a group that stayed on top of them and they'd feel really, really guilty if they broke it. But they didn't really adjust their thinking in their head to really focusing on the present and building that muscle and refuting all the other ideas that would take them out of the present. Like you said, if you happen to make a mistake, which most people do, I mean, I tell people to commit with perfection and have the 100% intent to never go off plan again. But it's not really about staying at your center 100% of the time. It's having the intent to stay at your center 100% of the time and developing the skills to come back to center when you find that you've strayed quickly. And you actually learn an awful lot from those mistakes. So if you're committed to that, then you'll find yourself confidently at center and peacefully at center progressively more as the years go by, as the months go by, as the weeks go by. You'll find yourself progressively more at center. Um, well, that's my best refutation. So who cares?
I have one thing to add to it, and really it's not necessarily a refutation, but one additional thought that recognizing the squeal is the first step. I haven't necessarily recognized that as a squeal before. And if I'm aware that it's there, then I can deal with it.
Right. Right. And one of the reasons we're sticklers for drawing a crystal clear line in the sand is so that you recognize when you're about to cross it, so that you can separate your constructive from your destructive thoughts about food. It's like a tripwire. It's like before the pig could sneak in and we wouldn't know, and we'd think it was just us having these thoughts. But now that you have these very clear rules in place, there's a tripwire, and it's like you have an alarm that goes off, ding, 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 as soon as the pig is getting active. You didn't have that before.
And actually having the experience of being able to look back and recognize I couldn't figure out what was happening for a really long time in the past when I was struggling, even though I was staying on plan, so to speak. But now that I know the tools and that you've taught me what you've taught, it's like the pig showed its hand a long time ago. So I'm much more likely to see it and recognize it and say, you showed your hand already. We're not doing that again.
Beautiful. So is there anything else that's making you feel less than confident that you can sustain this forever?
I don't think so. I talked with you on a call about the other squeal that kind of comes along with it is it takes effort and you're going to have to be doing something forever to deal with this issue in your life. And we came up with the idea that anything worthwhile takes effort and that it's a good thing that something takes effort. And especially once I'm established and have experience, the effort that it requires is so much less than what it does to get there in the first place. And the effort to get there in the first place is so worth it.
The real mountain to climb is the first 90 days. The work is really front loaded. If you identify your triggers, the food stimuli that make it difficult for you to resist, and you make a plan to go through the extinction curve for each one, the work is front loaded and it does take effort. And your pig thinks that it should be easy. There's got to be an easy way. But what if the choice is between two hard ways? One way is continuing to binge, continuing to overeat, feeling overweight, feeling bloated, feeling weighed down, taking all the health risks, not being able to be as present for life, being food obsessed for the rest of your life. That's one way versus working hard at identifying the squeals, doing the refutations, setting up the right set of rules, getting a little help for 90 days, and then you're pretty close to the top of the mountain when you're done. What if there isn't an easy path? What if they're both a hard path, but you got to choose your hard?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Are there any other tools that have been helpful to you that you learned in the program or elsewhere?
The hooks have been instrumental. There are various quotes that I've heard from your mouth over the years that stick in my head, but coming up with hooks at the end of the refutation based on your teaching, I have chosen to add them to a ritual before my meals so that I remember them even more quickly.
Give me an example, if you don't mind.
Sure. One of my favorites is that eating well today makes tomorrow easier.
All right. That was a full refutation, and you kind of boiled it down to something pithy and memorable. Eating well today makes tomorrow easier. I love that.
That's been huge. And then I did not come up with this one, but I get to trade something that I like for something that I love. So I might trade something that I would like to eat. I would love to eat cinnamon rolls. They are not good for me and I don't want them. So I'm trading them for something I love, which is a healthy body, mental freedom, clarity, and a better way of living.
Beautiful. Do you want to share any others?
One more I'll share. A little bit goes a long way, and I don't want to go a long way the wrong way.
Yeah, that's great.
And the flip side of that, there was a conversation where I brought that up and somebody had shortened it to just, I don't want to go a long way the wrong way, which is totally fine. But I think it's important to recognize, for me, within that hook, a little bit goes a long way. Relatively speaking, 90 days out of my life is a little bit. And then other things, reading my hooks is a little bit. And so, like, the good stuff applies too. A little bit of the work goes a really long way.
A little bit of work can be life-changing.
Absolutely.
Cool. I'm so glad you shared the specifics. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Is there anything that you're struggling with that I could help you with?
Anytime I have a little hiccup or bump or question, I have brought them up in the calls, and I have wrecked my brain all day long trying to think of some problem to bring to you, and I am unsuccessful.
That's music to my ears because it's kind of like a game of whack-a-mole. Remember
Sure.
the
Yeah.
amusement parks? Yeah. Eventually the game's over. Eventually the moles stop popping up after a while. And it seems like it's never going to end and it's exhausting when you're playing it, but eventually it's game over. So good, Lori. Is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
There's one more thing I wanted to share. I've listened to the podcasts for years and I have heard people speak on them for years. And I always thought if I ever had the opportunity that I just really want to encourage those out there who don't have the opportunity to sign up for the program. The program is 100% worth it. It is way more value. It's absolutely way more value than it's priced at. And if you need the program, please sign up for it. But I just want to be an encouragement to those who are out there doing the thing on their own and reading the books. And you've been so incredibly generous to put so much free literature out there. It's really amazing, actually. And so I just wanted to encourage those who are out there doing it on their own.
Thanks, Lori. My goal is to help 1 million people a year to stop overeating. And I didn't hold anything back in the books, and you can tell I don't really hold anything back in the podcasts. There are these paid programs, and there'll be more paid workshops and things soon, kind of smaller things soon. But everything you need is also available for free. If you don't need the personal coaching, then we didn't hold back. The book has the entire system in it. The podcast is free. I plan to try to do 2 a week forever. And that's it. Part of my mission is to help more than the group of people who can afford to pay me. So
thank you. Thank you for that, for all you've done.
Lori, thank you so much. Well, have a lovely weekend. Get some sleep. Take care of yourself with food, and I will talk to you soon. I'll see you in the calls.
Okay, back at you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
And that brings us to the end of today's broadcast of Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston. If you'd like to find out more about the products and services Dr. Glenn offers to help you dramatically reduce your cravings and stop overeating in 90 days or less, please visit defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. That's defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. Thanks.